Our first match this morning will be Russia versus Italy in the Compound Women Open Team Bronze Final. Have you watched some of these athletes this week?
I have, and I actually know some of the athletes. Some of them are fairly new athletes, but we do have a Paralympic bronze medalist individual from London 2012 on the Russian team, so she's going to bring quite a lot of experience, I think. Some really high scores being shot this week.
Absolutely.
I'm sure the Italians are really proud to get to this position, because as a compound ladies team, we've not seen them competing at the highest level. Russia have often been in this situation, but I think it's great for Italy. You can hear the crowd actually, they're really getting behind them.
The Italian team here in Beijing is quite large, and they've been quite vocal all week.
Yes, they have.
So yesterday here in this Beijing finals field we had the recurve finals, then the W1 finals, and this morning we've moved on to the compound finals to close our week in Beijing. Which match are you most looking forward to?
Oh gosh, I'm just looking forward to all of the matches. I think they're all going to be really competitive matches today, and the compounds, particularly the margins, are so small that all the matches I think are really exciting. So no, I don't have a favourite. Of course, I always have a little vested interest in the women's, but I think they're all going to be great matches.
Buzzer about to go for our first match here on the last day of competition in Beijing. We've got the top-ranked Russians against the second-ranked Italians in the compound women's open team final.
That's the way to start.
And the way to carry on as well.
Yeah. Ten. Wow, you can't beat that.
Perfect 3 arrows to open from the Russian women. Italy to follow in this type of format. The team round, you shoot 3 arrows, then 3 arrows, and then swap back to your first team for a total of 6 per end.
And of course, unlike yesterday when we were watching the sets, this is all cumulative score, just like it was for the W1 category yesterday.
So a total of 24 arrows to be shot by each team here. Highest overall score wins the match.
That's very interesting yesterday when we were watching all of the matches. Those archers who were on the right-hand target on the field, on target 2, only 2 matches were won from that target yesterday.
Okay. That is, of course, usually the lower seeded archer as well.
It is, but I think it wasn't strictly true from the qualification round in terms of seeding. And of course, we've got the big screen on the right-hand side, so I think it's slightly more visible for those archers.
4-point lead for Russia over Italy after 3 arrows. And 4 consecutive 10s as well. That's 5.
Will they get the perfect end?
Wow. Fantastic start in this bronze medal match for Russia. 6 perfect arrows in the 10. They were the top ranked team.
And they have a lot of experience to draw on as well.
They lost to China in the semi-finals, so
that should give us an amazing final.
Absolutely. Italy finds the 10 with their 4th shot.
Another 10.
Time ticking down for Eleonora Sati. No issues. 3 perfect arrows in the second half. That brings the total for Italy to 56 out of a possible 60. Russia a perfect 60 and a 4-point lead after this first ends.
I think it's really interesting seeing these 6 ladies out here because they're real illustration of the variations within Paralympic archery and para archery in general, because we have archers out there who are standing to shoot, archers who are sat in a wheelchair, and archers who are sitting on a shooting stool, and yet they're all competing at the same time. The compound shooting open class, there's no differentiation in category between a standing archer and an archer in a wheelchair, so they can all shoot on the same competition field and in the same team.
And how does it work for a para athlete? How do they know what they're able to do to shoot? How do they know if they're able to sit on a stool or use a wheelchair?
So they have to go through a process called classification. So a medical person tests how their disability or their impairment affects their ability to shoot, and then they're given allowed to use a stool or some kind of additional aid in order to level out the playing field so that it's fair between all of the archers.
Starting our second end of this bronze medal match. – 2015 world champion Sati starting off with a 9.
She's taking her time. Good shot. I'm sure Russia are going to want to repeat that 10-10-10, 10-10-10 they had last time. Start with a 9. Commentator's curse.
Round to 10 again after 6 perfect shots from 6 arrows in the first end. That's 1 from 3 in the second. You notice that the order's changed in the Italian team there.
Yes, I think there's an element of some people would call it team tactics, but it's actually about supporting your archers to get the best out of them. So there's a variation on the amount of pressure of the person who comes first or the person who comes last. And sometimes if you find your first end you're not comfortable with it, then you'll have practiced different formats for, in this scenario, we'll try this instead. So they've made the change very early, which is quite brave.
So Sati, who opened the Italians up, also closing each end. Uses it well.
And Sherry and I were talking yesterday about that whole thing in the team about who goes first and who goes last, and you know, the person who shoots last should be the person who can put the arrow in the 10 when the clock is counting down, and the person who goes first kind of guides the whole team. So they're the person who, you know, if their arrow goes into the 9 instead of the 10, they'll say it's because it was a bad shot, or it's because the wind took it. So it's about that reliability. It's a really interesting thing to practice.
10 to finish.
So they add another point.
And that's Artakinova finished us up there, and she hasn't missed a 10 yet through 2 ends in this bronze medal match. Now there's a 9-star on the Russian scoreboard at the moment. They've got a 5-point lead, but that could extend to 7 if that's upgraded to a 10. Just tell me, Pippa, why they put that star on that arrow value.
So within archery, if your arrow touches the line between 2 scores, then you actually are awarded the higher score. And from where the spotters sit, sometimes they can't quite tell whether the arrow is touching the line or just outside the line. And so they put the star there to indicate that that arrow might get upgraded to the higher score if it actually touches the next scoring zone up. And we've had the confirmation with that one that actually the arrow was a 9 and not a 10, so the score has been confirmed at 56-55, which gives them a 5-point lead, which I think with 2 ends to go you would think would be quite comfortable, but it's a team round, anything can happen.
Well, they shot a lot more points in the first end than they did in the second,
yes.
60 then 59. But the world record for this match is 227 points out of a possible 240. If they match the end totals that they did in the first half, they will break that record.
That would be pretty exciting.
Sati starting us off with a 9.
And these are the hardest matches, the bronze medal matches. They really are. Because if you win, you get the bronze medal. But if you don't win, you go home very disappointed. But in gold, silver, of course, you know you're going to get something.
But better to leave an event on a win than a loss.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I think my bronze medals are the ones I'm most proud of, because I think the pressure is bigger. Sometimes people find that strange. Of course, each team has 2 target faces as well.
And that'll change when we get down to the individuals, where they'll go down to 1 alone.
So the first arrow archer is shot on the right-hand face and the second on the left-hand face.
And how do you decide how to split those targets up?
Generally, the person in the middle gets to shoot one at each, and the people on either side get the one that's closest to them. So it's all about the central line of the target and being closest to the central line of the target. And that's why when you see them, the archers on the line as well, why they tend to sit very close together, because they don't want to be shooting too far from that central line.
So Artakinova just shot her 5th 10 of this match. She has not missed the middle.
She's been shooting really well. She's been shooting well all week, but she's generally very experienced. course, the Russian team won the last World Championships and Compound Women's Open. So they know what they have to do.
So we saw a 7 there from the Italian team. What might have caused an arrow to go so far from the middle?
Nerves, maybe? We've got really great conditions here, so there's a little tiny bit of a breeze, but not enough to make any difference. So I suspect that she's a little nervous and wanting to do really well, perhaps trying a little bit too hard. And that's difficult sometimes, to settle your nerves down, especially, you know, if you know you're behind and you're trying your hardest. A little bit of tension creeps in, and then you don't follow the process of your shot.
Russia there matched Italy's total with 1 arrow to spare, and our Atakaneva put in her first 9 of this match with her 6th shot. But Russia still expanding their lead by a further 4 points, 172 to 163. No stars this time around, so we shouldn't have any changes to that score. You have to say this match is all but won at this stage.
I think so, yes. I think unless something extraordinary happens. Of course, yesterday we saw one of the teams where they actually ran out of time and were unable to shoot their last arrow. But I think this Russian team is very experienced, and they're going to manage their time very well. So, yeah, I think we're probably looking at the bronze medalists in the Russian team.
So we spoke earlier about the wheelchair and the stools and the assisted devices that the archers can use. What about the bows themselves? Are they different from the compound bows we're used to seeing?
No, they're not. They're exactly the same bows, exactly the same equipment. Some of the archers will choose to have perhaps a more lightweight sight or some different stabilization to make it easier for them to control with their particular level of impairment. But they're just the kind of bow that you'd go into any archery shop and anybody would buy. It's a sport for all, that's the thing. It's not about specialist equipment, it's about just being an archer.
So I've just been advised that score of 227 for Germany was the world record prior to this tournament. The world record was actually broken in the eliminations at 228, so they'll need to beat that score to set a new one here. Italy not giving up there, opening 10 from Sati.
I think that 228 is probably pretty close to the able-bodied world record. The standard of these archers is really incredible. It's a shame she just rushed that shot and dropped her arm a bit, I think.
Did she need to rush it at all?
No, but I guess she's got a lot of adrenaline rushing around her system.
So they've got 3 points to drop here to break the world record. Still got 3 points to drop.
World record will be the last thing on their minds right now. It's all about executing every single arrow in the very best way that you can.
And with the match, with such an advantage in the match, do you think getting that world record will be easier because they haven't got the stress so much of a tight contest here for the medal?
I don't think so. I think the world record is something that comes when you just shoot your best and you get your process right and you're working strongly as a team. And then the world records just happen because you're shooting really well.
3 perfect 10s from Russia to open this last end. They've got 3 arrows to drop into the target and 3 points left to drop from the score if they want to break the world record.
I remember I'd broken the world record with the team on more than one occasion, and on no occasion did we realise we'd done it until after the match was over. Nice shot. That's what you want, isn't it, in your last arrow of your match?
Finish with a 10, and Sati's got an opportunity to here.
Just outside.
217 points for the Italians, but Russia here need at least a 27 from their 3 arrows to set a new world record. That's an 8. That's high. That's made things a little more difficult.
It has. Maybe the coach actually said to them. But they can relax now, and maybe that's what she did. She knew they'd won the match, and she could relax.
10.
What can Stefanida do?
A 9 here. A 9 here will break the world record. A 10 will break it by 2. It's a 9. And that's a new world record for Russia and the bronze medal here at Beijing 2017 and the World Archery Para Championships. It's not the medal they would have wanted, but to shoot a world record in their finals match must be satisfying.
Oh, it'll be brilliant, and they'll be so delighted to have won the bronze medal. To go home with any medal is fantastic. It's a great achievement at a World Championships, but to do it with a world record, yeah, what more can you ask for?